All right, we are live. I'm here with Base Centrist coming all the way from England. How's it going, Base Centrist?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
Yeah,
How
I
are you?
see you.
How are you?
I'm great. It's just a nice day for me. I like it. Just had a nice chill day, took a shower, you know, just a general BS, arguing on Twitter, which I see you do a lot of, to the point where I'm like, are you ever not arguing? Because it seems like maybe it's just my feed is like putting it, but it's always like you fighting with someone in like 30 different posts.
It's
like,
I do it on my
I,
breaks at work
I
because I get
appreciate
bored.
it though. I'm not saying as a diss. I appreciate it because I like arguing online. So I appreciate someone who's also as hyper fixated and stubborn to argue that much.
Yeah, I'm definitely crazy on Twitter. I think I just get bored on my breaks at work, and so I've got
That's
like,
crazy. You're working too. I don't even have a job and I can hardly keep up with all this shit, you know?
and I just get annoyed. I get annoyed by shit. I go scroll through my feed. I'll see some random rad femme saying some crazy shit, and I'll just be like, "Fuck, man, you're just off your head." And
Yeah.
yeah,
I feel
I
like,
just gotta
well,
get
now
involved.
Twitter probably just feeds you shit that's gonna make you angry over and over and
Oh
over.
yeah,
But
it's definitely the algorithm. Yeah,
yeah.
100%. It definitely
And
is.
people, like, my friends don't get it. They're like, why do you do this? Like, I don't get it at all. And I was like, it's kind of like a sport in some ways. It's like a battle to see like who wins. And at the same time, you're like sharpening your own arguments and finding out where you stand on things. Like,
Yes.
depending on the kind of fight, like some are just total waste of time. But
Oh, 100%. Yeah, half of them are a waste of time, 100%. And like, it's annoying because you don't know when you start engaging if it's going to be a waste of time or not.
yeah.
But a lot of times it is a waste of time. But at the end of the day, it is what you're saying. It is. I'm trying to find my own point of view as well sometimes,
Mm.
and I'm testing what I actually think against what they think. But
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes I'm like, sometimes I just don't always go about it the right way. I will say, because like sometimes I'm trying to play their logic against themselves, you know what I mean? But then it makes me look like a crazy person as well, because like,
Yeah, you can't get away with that. It's different.
yeah,
Like, it is. There's like a double standard because like a woman can be like, kill all men, but if a man says kill all women, it hits different. Not that you've said
yeah.
that or anything. That's just the first example that came to
No, I know
mind.
what you
But
mean though. Just as like a basic example, I know exactly what you mean. Like it could, and to be fair, that would hit different because like
it hits different. It hits
there is
different.
just
But
a
there's
reality to the situation that does make that hit different. But I find that a lot of discussions around the gender wars, shall we say, um, a lot of them are just like ridiculously hyperbolic or ridiculously hateful. And this goes to both sides, like the radfems and the
Mhm.
incels and everyone. Like they're both equally like delusional about like what's going on. And so, for instance, here's a common argument you'll hear from radfems, right? 90% of all violent crime is committed by men. But what they won't say is what percentage of men are committing these violent crimes.
Let me guess. I would say for violent like percent just of all men, I'm gonna guess it's two no 1 to 6% tops.
6% is very it's more like 1% or less.
I'm still a feminist, man. I didn't say 100%.
It's all that. It's every single one.
Yeah. That's like
Yeah,
an actual thing that people say, so.
no, they do. They do think that. They think this is what people are like, right? They think because 90% of violent crimes are committed by men, that means 100% or 90% of men are committing violent crimes. That's not how statistics work.
Well,
But they
but they
don't.
also the idea with it, and I can explain from the inside, is that it's not that like all men are violent, but like they don't like take women's violence like seriously, or they downplay it, or they're not speaking out against other men, which I actually don't really believe that's true, but I think that's the idea, is that it's like even if you aren't violent, you're still benefiting like from the patriarchy, which as a concept, like many societies are patriarchal, but I just think that's the natural evolution of things. I don't think it's a conspiracy anymore.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, like, I don't know if I completely buy into the ideological perspective of the Western countries in this day and age being patriarchal. I think we're like kind of post-patriarchal.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, but in our like in socially, I think women have more social status now, and like,
mm.
but And like, yeah, we benefit a lot from like affirmative action and stuff. So it's like things have changed rapidly, but I do think like the bulk, like if you look at who owns the property, who has the money, who is in
Sure.
the highest positions of
But
government,
okay, but this
even
is
that
where it
that's
becomes
changing, you know.
ideological though, because the idea is that like all men are benefiting from this, but the idea for that must be that men are kind of a monolith that are working
Yeah,
together.
which is so stupid. And the same thing when they do it to women, like
Yeah.
it's and I love when people are like, men are so hypocritical. They say this, but also that. And it's like, yeah, because you're talking about billions of people. What a shocker that one said one thing and then another said a different thing. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
wild. Who could have saw that coming? You know?
But this is why I don't subscribe to it. In that, like, yes, there could be lots of men that are owning the property, or men are more of the richer people. But those men are also exploiting loads of men to
Yeah,
have that wealth. So like,
absolutely. I
so
agree
it's
with that.
not.
Yeah.
So to me,
Yeah, it's
it's
not a
not.
conspiracy against women, but I will say it's just like if you look at just looking at how power is distributed at the moment, I would say that men have more financial and institutional power than women, but women are gaining up quickly. Like I'd say they're maybe like a 60-40 situation.
Yeah, I
These are
guess
numbers I'm
that
pulling
could
out
be
of my
said.
ass though.
Like, to me, I don't know if I would put it on that kind of scale. To me, it's like people have different advantages or different disadvantages
Yeah.
that are unique to their sex that can play out in different ways depending on the situation. And like
Yeah.
to me, it's like certain men have certain unique issues that they go through, and women have certain unique issues that they go through. And I don't like that it becomes like a competition. I
Mhm.
prefer that if people could just have a bit of compassion and realize there's differences here for various
Mhm.
different reasons, could be evolutionarily based as well.
Yeah. That's where
And
I like once I started reading more about like Evo Psych, and I know people like shit all over it, but like
no, I
I
love
feel
Evo Psych.
like one of the most influential like books I read was called The Moral Animal. I think it's by Robert Wright, and it just like goes into like how our moral behaviors like evolved. And I remember reading it and getting like triggered at certain things like that weren't flattering to women, but it's just like there's many things that aren't flattering to men too. It's like
No,
you just have to suck it the fuck up and realize that like you can talk about broad sections of people in broad terms without it necessarily perfectly applying or limiting any individual. But like
yeah,
feminists are just hypersensitive to that because in the past, you know, we didn't have the same legal rights. So now it's like this chip on their shoulder that they're always looking for this
sure.
boogeyman or like conspiracy that I don't think there's any real institutional barriers to women at this moment, you know, whatsoever. I think the opposite is
Yeah, I don't
true.
think so either. And I also think it's a bit of a myth that like okay, so it's not that women didn't have those disadvantages because that is completely true. I actually I completely agree with that. But the implication is that men definitely did when in fact most men didn't. They didn't have the
Well,
vote or they weren't allowed
true.
to
Yeah.
own property if they weren't of a certain class or whatever. Like
Yeah.
there was various ways in which men also weren't allowed to be part of society in the same way. So
That's true. Yeah.
I don't think it's always because feminism is so concentrated on women, which is
Hmm.
the clues in the name. Like so, of course, that's
Yeah.
the way it's going to be. But because of that, they don't actually view history in a holistic way. So they don't actually understand the whole situation. So they get so concentrated on themselves, they forget that like men don't always necessarily have the greatest end of the stick either. So
That's true. But it's just like if you look, yeah, I think that's a huge issue and just everyone's understanding of everything that's happening in the world is just like our public school systems have utterly fucking failed us. Our colleges have utterly fucking failed us because Americans are walking around retarded. They don't know anything about history. So we're going to be doomed to just repeat the same shit. And, you know,
yes,
I was watching a video about, I know everyone says there's going to be like a civil war, but like if you do look, there are like certain things that are breaking down in society and
yes.
the polarization, the gender wars, like there's a lot of things that are happening that if you read about civilizations that have failed, there are like some similarities there that makes
There's a
me nervous,
lot.
like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
There's a lot of what would you call it? Parallels.
Yeah,
And
and
and they
people
say
don't
that
realize that though.
history.
I
They
think
say that history repeats, but
Mhm.
there's also another saying of I can't remember who said this. It might be Mark Twain or something like that. but history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And I think there's a bit of truth to these kinds of, like, I don't know what you would call them, like truisms or whatever, but like in we're not exactly in the fall of Rome in the same way that it happened, but you can see the parallels
Yeah.
of how these things are breaking down, in that people are forgetting that we can work together. You know, like people are forgetting that men and women can be different but also complementary.
Yeah.
You know, all this kind of stuff. In fact, they're being pitted against each other and being told that we're all the same, but also so different that we have to hate each other. Like, it doesn't really make sense when you start to scrutinize it a lot of times.
No, it really doesn't. But people aren't taught critical thinking skills, and I guess that's like, you know, the anarchist me would be like, they don't want you to have critical thinking skills, but it's like,
No,
for
they
a healthy
don't.
society,
They don't. And I'm going to be a proper
yeah.
conspiracy theorist right now, but they actually
I guess
don't.
they don't. They really
They,
like, it doesn't make
why?
sense.
Okay, let's think about it for a second. Why would a government, right, who wants everyone to be a worker drone, man or woman, they want everyone to be a worker drone, they want everyone to be a cog in the machine, why would they want you to know how economics works? Why would they want you to know different flavors of political philosophy and understand that on a like a deeper level? Why would they ever want anyone to know any of that shit? Like, they wouldn't want, like, that is going to go completely contrary. If people knew all that shit, they would be fucked. Like, they would be actually fucked. Like, they wouldn't be able to manipulate the masses in the way that they do. Like, so of course they've rigged the education system to make sure that people don't understand that shit.
But it's like, I feel like it's so rigged that it's like we're on the brink of like a civil war, and that's not great for, well,
okay, I'm not saying that they are masterminds that can know everything. So
and we're talking about the Jews, right?
No. We're not just talking about the Jews. We're talking about everyone in power, right? Which includes some Jews, but it includes lots of people. But the point I'm making is that they are looking at short-term gains for themselves, because a lot of these people are psychopaths and narcissists and stuff like that, right? So if we use some basic armchair psychology, right, we can figure out that, like, these people are looking at their short-term gains. What can keep me in power? What can get me money? What can get me sex? What can get me this? And they will manipulate the masses to do those things, not thinking about the long-term consequences of how this might actually turn out for them.
Well, also, I think there's just like a thing where it's like a lot of activist movements, it's led by very young people, and young people are very stupid a lot of times, but they have like the most passion to be like, change, you know, throw away the system, you know. I can only imagine what's like the next generation's going to be like, you know. It's
well, they always rebel.
Like millennials and Gen Z, like, I just feel like we're in such a crisis of meaning and mental health and all of these things going on that I just don't.
I think I'm a little more optimistic than you. Like, I think
I'm usually optimistic, but like I'm trying to be realistic too. Like, that could be.
No, okay. So here's a little thing for you. So all the teenagers that you've ever known in your entire life, they all want to rebel, right? Now, what's the prevailing like social culture right now? It's like this ultra progressive PC culture shit, right?
I mean, if you're in like the coastal area, like in America, it depends.
Even in school, every school, every university. So this is the young people we're talking about. The young people are all going up through school. They're going through university. They're doing all this shit, right? They're going to college and all that, right? So they're constantly bombarded with men are bad, women are amazing, black people are poor and undereducated and oppressed, and blah blah blah, and don't have a family, just have a career. Da, 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 da. All this stuff, right? They're being bombarded with all this kind of like hyper progressive, like, don't ever say anything that goes out of, you know, that rocks the boat and blah blah blah. And you're seeing now, for the first time probably in a long time, that younger people are actually skewing more conservative than before, and that's kind of a rebellion thing. They're rebelling against this kind of progressive ideas. Like, before now, it was the fucking Christian 80s Reagan people that were like, don't play D&D because it's got demons and stuff in it. Or
I grew up in like the Bush era too, so that was its own weirdo time, you know.
But that was kind of like a follow-on from that in a way. It was like kind of like a little bit conservative, like a bit like Christian finger wag, like, oh, you know, And people rebelled against that in a way of like, oh well, I'm gonna sleep with who I want to sleep with, or I'm gonna be gay, Dad.
Yeah,
Fuck you, like whatever, like but that kind of rebellion was natural for that because that was like the prevailing culture of the time. Whereas the prevailing culture now is kind of the opposite of that. And so it's interesting to see that Gen Z and the one, I don't know what the one below that is. What is it, Gen Alpha or some shit? I
yeah,
don't
it's
know.
something like that.
But like they are starting to skew, not completely. A lot of them are still very liberal and stuff, but they're in proportional numbers are higher in conservative values. Like they're starting to not drink
Yeah,
as much. They're starting to not have
yeah,
sex
yeah,
as much. They're starting to be like, well, actually, maybe I just want to have a family and not actually do all this
yeah, yeah,
sleeping around stuff and whatever. Like they're starting to kind of like rediscover the wisdom of traditional values, but
yeah.
also not necessarily be as dogmatic or stringent about it as the past generations. So
Yeah, it's
so it's an
interesting.
interesting development that I think is actually quite good, and I quite like that that rebellion is happening. I think it's like a nice little yin yang balance that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, we're both enlightened centrists, which I have been very resistant to that label. I mean, I'm not really. I say it like jokingly. I'm still fairly progressive in most of my values.
Mm.
It's just the norm has gotten so far progressive that like I feel in the middle in contrast to that, like, how far the Overton window has just shifted and what's
Well, I think
considered
you're
liberal.
you're an intelligent person, right? And I think that anyone with a bit of a head on their shoulders can realize that progress for progress's sake is just kind of stupid. Like certain kinds of progress can be good. Like certain kinds of change can be good
Hmm.
if done in the right way and tapered in the right way and measured. But just doing it for the sake of it without thinking about the consequences, that is not actually good. And when you do that so much all the time, it goes to a certain place where there is just going to be a backlash to that, whether you like it or
Yeah.
not. Like that is just the way it's going to be. And I think we're starting to see that. In fact, I think Trump was kind of like the first big backlash to this kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it was like.
Mm.
I remember in 2016 when it started. For a while, YouTube was actually kind of dominated
Mm.
not by like right-wing people, but more, it's like the Sargon of Akkad era and like all these people who are
Yeah,
like
the skeptics and everyone.
the
Yeah, yeah,
skeptics, and they started
yeah.
being, instead of like dunking on creationists, they started dunking on SJWs and
Mhm.
feminists, and that was like started being popular. And then you saw, Trump and like whatever the fuck all that shit happened,
Yeah.
which, I actually don't have Trump derangement syndrome anymore. Like,
Thank God.
I do think he's a complete fucking loose cannon who only serves his own interests, but
Mm.
he is very
I
funny.
don't know if that's true. I don't know if we can say that. And the
You don't
reason
think he
the
is,
reason I'm gonna say this,
talk
okay, the
about
reason,
narcissists?
okay, no, he may be a narcissist.
Oh,
I would not discount that he may be a
but
narcissist. But
you think
hold
he
on one
has
sec.
the interest of the American people at heart?
Hold on one sec.
No way.
Let me say why I think this is the only reason I say this. Okay, and I will not say that what I'm saying is gospel, but it's the only thing that makes me think he's not completely in his own self interest. Right? He's the only president that I know of that did not financially benefit from being a president. He gave away his money. He actually donated his money, his salary from being a
That's the
president, and
long game. And also,
also
you cannot trust his.
his businesses lost money as well, and he didn't care about any of that. He did everything anyway, all regardless of that.
Well, because money
So,
isn't the only. There's two things that like powerful, weird, men desire. It's like
mm,
status, power, and
true.
money. But so it's like
Yeah,
once you
sure.
have all the money in the world, what's the next step? Is power, influence, attention. And
Yeah.
also
Okay.
down
Yeah.
the
No, that's
line,
fair. Yeah. Yeah.
being a former president, that increases his brand like crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
But
and
has it really
I'm
been that much of a
skeptical.
boon for him? I don't know. Has it really?
I think so. Well, yeah, because he was like, he had a spot in the culture in America, but it was more of like a goofy reality star. Like he was not a person who was like taken very seriously. I mean, he had his like the art of the deal, so people had this idea he's like this pop culture like businessman, like,
Yeah,
you know, millionaire who's like extravagant and flamboyant or whatever. That was like what he is known for. And then but he also always had like a political side, like when he came out hard against like the Central Park Five and like
sure.
shit like that, which we don't have to get into.
No, we don't need to get into that right now. No.
We really don't need to get into that. My Discord is always just like fighting about that and like trans sports, like forever. It's just like never ends, and I'm fine because I'm.
By the way, everyone join the Ruby Discord. By the way,
yes, I have an open link. Anyone can join. It's my new Discord.
It's funny.
I forgot my password for my old one, but that's. I mean, I like arguments. I don't mind it, but it's like a constant. I'm worried. I'm like, are we gonna like scare people off? They're just like, what the fuck?
I think it's a fun mix in there. But
yeah,
like,
no,
just
it's still fun. It's still fun. Like, I am a little worried that like at once you reach a certain point of like followers or people like looking at you, I feel like people are gonna start being like, oh, you talk to that person, I can't like talk to you if you talk.
Oh, you gotta lose that,
because that comes from every angle of the political spectrum.
No,
and I've already gotten it. It's teensy bit, and like, but my thing is just going to be a total shutdown and rejection of that.
No. You stay confident in who you like and who you want to talk to, and that can be anyone from any part of the political spectrum. But if they've got respect for you and you've got respect for them, that's how it goes. All these other people trying to like shut it down and stuff, they're just mongs, man. They're just mongoloids.
Well, here's the idea behind it is like they think that certain ideas are like so dangerous that by engaging with it, you validate it or elevate it or platform it.
But that's because they think like toddlers. That's why.
But like, say it's like pre-Nazi Germany, and like, what if like more like what if I had Hitler on my channel and was like, tell me about this, this Nazi party thing that's going on. Like, oh, that's interesting. I disagree with you on some things, but like, if you want to gas the Jews, like, I get it. That's your vibe, like.
Well, to be fair, he was not actually saying that.
It's an extreme example, but that's the thinking and reasoning behind it.
I know what you mean in that, like, it can be dicey in terms of
there has to be a line. There is a line somewhere. Like,
yeah, sure.
A pedophile, rapist, bestiality.
I think, it's how you go about it, right? So, like, say you have someone on your stream that has some spicy opinions, or maybe has spicy opinions that you don't know about, then you find out about later. Or if you do know about it, if you do know about it and you bring them on, then you challenge them on it, right? That's the thing. So it's how you go about this stuff, right? And like what the context is. So like realistically, you just got to be aware of this kind of stuff. That's all it is. You just got to be a bit aware about how you're going to conduct yourself. And at the end of the day, if some people are going to try and dunk on you for like, oh, you brought this person on, but you didn't challenge them enough. It's like, well, mate, I didn't fucking know. So fuck you. I didn't know. Now I do know. I'm not going to have them on again or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's up to you how you conduct your channel and stuff. But
yeah, I don't want to even cultivate that kind of audience that would have that kind of expectation on me in the first place. You
can't escape it. Just embrace the fact that you can't control it. Okay, you can't control it.
It's so nasty. Okay. Like I'm fighting with that a slightly twisted female. Like, I've actually watched her channel like on and off over the years, because she's like critical of some of the trans excesses, but she just went so hard into like targeting individuals.
Can I just ask a question? Was this the one I saw you arguing with, where that Jess who was on your channel the other day? The trans lady, Jess is her name.
No. It's a totally different person.
No. She was arguing with Jess.
Probably, yeah,
or something. I think. So
she's been like coming at me, and she has like no boundaries of what like I've criticized her like for. I think it like kind of popped off. She looked at one of my streams with Phil Illy where I was talking about how I don't care if men wear dresses. And she was like, called me up. She was like, cool, congrats. Your legacy is going to be shielding perverts. And then like I saw on her Twitter, she was like just dragging this trans woman, Brianna Ivy, who like had complications from gender surgery. And she's speaking out about those complications. And I think that's important that people hear that info. And it's often suppressed. She's probably getting shit on by the trans community 24/7. And now it's coming from the feminist community even harder. Like, so I said, all right, congrats. Your legacy is going to be needless cruelty and bullying. You know, it's like not even that hardcore, like coming at you. She goes through all my videos, like, I hope you fucking relapse, bitch. Look at you. You put it in like, blah, 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 blah. Like, oh, I can see you're this
What?
twisted narcissist. She went like straight for the jugular. And luckily, I'm a tough bitch, you know? So, like,
Oh yeah.
I just get a kick out of it. And I was like, all right, if you want to boost my algo, go for it, biatch.
Get
But
her on
like,
stream. Have a screaming match.
well, I popped in her chat. I popped in her chat. How trippy is this? Like, I'm just signing on YouTube and her thing pops up and I click it. In that exact moment, my name is coming out of her mouth. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, dude. Like, so I was blowing up in her chat and I was like, she's obsessed with me. This chick has a crush on me. It's never going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and she was just kind of saying, just being like, yeah, this chick is disgusting. She shows like her gross room. And it's like, she says I'm both glamorizing drug addiction, but also like I'm so gross and it's so horrifying. It's like, that's the fucking point, bitch. Like, I'm trying to anti-glamorize it, you know? Like,
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I see you as a little bit like a Mr. Girl in a sense that you are hyper honest, right,
mhm.
with yourself. But to be honest, we need more of that kind of stuff in life.
Yeah,
Like we
I
need
actually
more.
miss Mr. Girl being on YouTube, but, you know, for all, you
Yeah, me
know,
too.
but
I like Mr.
controversial, but
Girl a
I love
lot.
this channel. You know,
Yeah.
I feel bad because when I was psychotic, I harassed him. I was gonna go on his call in one of his discords. Maybe I still will.
Right.
But I don't want to like I already harassed this person. Like that's their only and I know all their content and you know, I have this perception of them. Their only perception of me is like absolute fucking insanity out of nowhere. Like I was looking through some old messages I sent and I was psychotic. I was psychotic. So, you know, but they were very nice. Like I apologized and explained it and they were actually super nice. I don't know, maybe I'll still call in, but I just don't want to seem like a stalker like remember when I harassed you? Now I'm calling in to find you.
Nah, I
Like,
wouldn't worry about that too much. But the point I'm
yeah.
making though is that like you're quite an honest person. You'll show like you've on your Twitter and stuff. You've shown pictures of your room when it's a complete state and stuff like that, and like whatever. But what you're doing is you're trying to show like this is what mental health can look like sometimes, right?
Yeah.
This is what things can happen when you've gone through addictions. I've gone through addiction as well, and like so like when you for me. I actually find you as like a breath of fresh air. I really respect people who are brutally honest with themselves, and that can not always make you look like a good person, but in a way, to me personally, I think it makes you look like a better person in a way because it
Yeah.
makes
So
you
you kind of
you're
get
not putting on
my
airs. You're
intention.
not putting on a facade for
Yeah.
people, right? You're trying to be like, look, man, this is fucking the human condition, okay? This is how it is.
Yeah.
I can be this way. I'm trying to sort my life out. This is how my room is today. 10 days later, I'm tidying my room up, and this is the way it's going to be now. And you're actually like trying to be just more real, I guess. Whereas a lot of people will try to put on a facade that they're
Mhm.
such a great person, it's
Yeah.
only positive vibes, or whatever. Or they'll try and look down on people as if they're better than people for whatever reason. And
Yeah.
like to me, those people are just all fucked up. Like so in the Bible, they would call those people Pharisees, right?
Mhm.
These are people who are hypocrites. These are people who are not honest. They're not actually living the values that they espouse, and I don't really care for them. If anything,
Mhm.
it's people like you who are honest will trigger the dishonest people, and that's quite funny about it.
I mean, that's so flattering. Those are all like nice things to hear. And I feel like, yeah, especially people who've been through addiction, I think understand it. Because for me, I know, like, I turned to the internet in so many like dark, lonely nights, and it really would be meaningful to find someone I could relate to on the internet. Some random person, some random like low budget fucking video of someone talking about their experience, warts and all. I found it to be comforting. I found it to be inspiring. And so in my intent or my highest intent, obviously I'm sure I have like I, you know, like positive attention, validation, having something to do. Like, I'm sure there's negative intentions there too, but like my highest intent would probably be to make other people feel less lonely, or to like
Sure.
just kind of, just see what happens when you're just really honest on the internet and just see how people react to it. And it's been a mixed bag, mostly positive though. So it's like, I don't know. I actually don't really get that many. I want more hate comments. Actually, I'm courting it. I want
No,
some more
but
drama, man.
this is, you got to take the rough with the smooth. You know what I mean? You got to take the rough with the
Yeah.
smooth, and like that is just the way it's going to be. You're not going to be able to please everyone, so it's better to just be honest from the get go. Like
Yeah,
if
it
you're
just
going
makes
to,
it simpler because when you're an addict, you're always stacking lie on top of lie on top of lie, and it's so hard to keep up with all of the lies that I'm just so tired that I would rather just in every single moment just try to be as honest as possible so I don't have to keep up with lie after lie
yeah,
after lie after lie,
totally,
and also what the fuck do I have to lose? Not a thing. So,
exactly, yeah, yeah. So like honestly, just keep doing what you're doing. You'll be fine.
yeah,
But
I'm trying to,
and don't
I just
worry
I
about
it
these people.
bothers me. I don't like the idea that I could ever like glamorize addiction. That does trigger me a little because I'm like, I
I don't
really
think you're
don't want to
glamorized
do
in
that.
addiction. People are saying this kind of stuff to try and upset you. It's not because
And
it's actually
I've
real. They're
I've
just trying
gotten
to
that
upset you.
criticism like maybe 2 or 3 times. So I'm like, is there something to it? Like maybe I should like because I talk about things like maybe too like chipperly and I have like a dark sense of humor and maybe people think that I'm just
Nah,
taking everything so lightly
I've
or
never
whatever.
gotten that impression from you, like ever. I've never gotten that impression from you. So, like honestly, these people who say this kind of stuff, they're saying it to try and hurt you. They're trying to get you to
Yeah.
second guess yourself because they don't like that you're honest. They don't like that you're honest about yourself. They don't because they're not honest about themselves. So it triggers them. It triggers them.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to like totally drag her, but like she said in one of the comments, I was vicious back. I'm like, all right, bitch, let's go. So I said, she was making fun of me for smoking. And I was like, yeah, I know you look like more of a jewel pod kind of girl. And like, and saying like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you literally look straight out of the fucking rooms. You look exactly like every person I've ever met in an AA meeting. And she was like, I haven't been drunk since college. Then I see a compilation of her literally like eyes glazed at the club, like grinding on her boyfriend, like, or baby daddy or one of her baby daddies that she has. Not to
one
be
of
a
them.
bitch, but like, you know.
But this is
Anyways,
what I'm talking about, though. Is it
but
like
yeah, just
take
lies.
the
It's
beam
like
out of
I
your
see you're
own eye
drunk.
before you say something? Take the
I'm like,
beam out of your own eye. That's the fucking biblical thing, right?
yeah,
Judge not unless you be judged. It's all that kind of shit, right?
I
So it's
know. So I
just
try not to like be too mean, but it's kind of fun to just like be mean and just be like, fuck it. Like I'm gonna just say the meanest thing I can think of right now.
well, wait.
Like
I'm sorry, yeah, but if you enter yourself in the arena, if you're gonna jump in on someone and be really mean to them, you better be expecting it back. Like you
yeah.
better be expecting it
I
back.
never will start. I will never throw the first shot. Okay, but I will fire
No.
back.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah. And
That's
like
my
I know that's not particularly Christian of me to say, but I do think that like realistically in life, you got to be a little bit prepared to fight your corner a bit.
Yeah, and
And
sometimes people need to hear some real shit, even if it hurts in the moment. Like that's why I almost want more hate comments because I want to hear something like true that people are afraid to tell me. I'd rather like know, like, or maybe I wouldn't rather know. I don't fucking know. I can be really sensitive and insensitive at the same time. So typical female, you know.
I mean, I think we all can be a bit like that. To be fair, I don't know if it's always particular to being a female, but I think we can all be a little bit like that.
I feel like being a woman is a trip though. Like the way that women like, but men experience like have a deep emotional experience too. But I don't know. I think there's something like women like we get so sensitive to like minor social like potential social infractions. Like
Mm.
you can be like hypersensitive. Like wait, do they secretly hate me because they said that? Because that's
I
how
have,
women fight with each other is through social
yeah.
sabotage. So we're always like, like suspicious. Like
I have definitely noticed this. Yeah, I've definitely noticed this. And one of the biggest tells of this is that women can be very hypersensitive to just like teasing. So if you do like a teasing
yeah,
kind of, if you do a teasing kind of joke, I've been
yeah,
on the receiving end of this as a guy, right? So like, you might do a joke against a woman. It's like, oh, you daft bitch or something like that, right? You might
yeah,
say something. You might say something that to a guy, most guys would just be like, whatever. They don't
yeah,
even think
yeah,
about it. But if you say something like that to a woman, they might actually really
Yeah, fuck
internalize
off.
that.
It happens to me all the time. Like I have some, sensitive friends. Hi, if they're watching. But like, um, I like it feels like a landmine sometimes. Like I'm just gonna say the wrong thing, like, and my intentions are gonna be warped when I'm just
Yeah.
like I've joked around with people. I don't want to say anything too specific because my friends. I started giving my friends my channel info. Now they're popping in my Discord, and I'm like,
All
the
right.
lives are blending together right now.
That's a big mistake.
I know.
Yeah, fair enough.
I told maybe like 3 or 4 of like my friends, because they were like curious. Because like anytime I'm saying they're streaming, like I'm streaming or something, they think I'm doing porn. So I'm like, no, it's not porn right now. Like I'm trying to do something else,
Mm.
even though I'm about 2 seconds away from doing live cam again because like I've been trying to get a normal job and no one will fucking hire me. It's terrible. But
I
anyway,
think
I'm
you'll get
getting
there.
off on a
You'll get there. You'll
tangent.
get there.
So what is this about the orange peel you wanted to vent about?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we should probably try and get back to the gender war thing.
Well, no, it
Uh,
all kind of relates to the gender wars, but I can go off on so many different tangents.
no, it's all right. I've been enjoying the discussion, but yeah, I had a big argument in the last couple of weeks on Twitter because there was a bit of a TikTok fad that went around
Hmm.
about trying to get your partner, your male partner, if you're a woman, trying to get your male partner to peel an orange for you, right? Now, it
Uh-huh.
sounds innocent on the surface, but the whole idea is if he doesn't peel the orange for you, then he doesn't actually love you. And you should actually leave him and stuff, right? Which I actually find this to be a massively psychologically abusive, right? Personally, it's like a full-on manipulative. You're shit testing somebody,
It
basically.
is. It's a shit test, but to their defense, because I am a woman. Wait, let me think of a defense real quick, because I have to defend women. All right.
Okay.
Well, no, it's the thing is, like, say I just did my nails or something, so I don't want to peel an orange. Like, I think it is kind of weird if you ask for a small favor from
No, no, no,
someone.
no. Okay, right. Okay, I'm
You
gonna
know what I
stop you
mean?
right.
Like,
I'm
and
gonna
then
have
they
to
say,
stop you right there.
"Favor for me." It's like it's not about the favor. It's just like,
No,
wait, you won't do a tiny thing for
I'm
me.
gonna
But
stop you right there. I'm gonna
the
stop you
fact that
right
it is
there.
with manipulative intent, I get like,
No. Because
but yeah,
what you're talking about with the nails is a genuine request for a certain circumstance, right?
yeah.
But what these other women are talking about is not a genuine request at all. It's a manipulative request where they're hinging the entire relationship on this very basic thing. And it's a very open and obvious manipulation, right?
I've only seen like I wasn't sure if it was a trend or I saw like one video. I think the one you were.
It was like a fad. It was like a little fad that for a week or two, right?
Yeah.
But the whole point though is that like they think at the core of this, they think that testing your partner and getting them to walk on eggshells, basically hinging your relationship on all these little shit tests that you're doing to
Hmm.
them, that is acceptable in their mind. When in my mind, I think that is actually abusive behavior. Like that is literally, if a guy was doing that to a woman, no one would fucking stand for it. They would all be like, "Girl, you got to get out there straight away." If he's testing you on this, that, and the other thing, and
Yeah.
if he doesn't like it, and he's going on the mood, and he's like threatening to break up the relationship, he's a piece of shit. But when the women are doing it for some reason, that's all completely fine. In fact, that's the woman's energy. That's what feminine energy is. That's what women do. Women
That's
are just
dark
manipulative
feminine
pieces of shit, and
energy.
we just need to accept it. And blah
That's
blah blah. I do
toxic
not
feminine
accept it.
energy.
I do not accept it. I will not accept it. And I think it's actually really bad to pump it into women's head that this is acceptable behavior.
Well,
I
to
think it.
me, I reject a whole scenario where I would even feel the need. If I get the sense that someone doesn't care about me in a relationship, it's over. I don't need to test that.
But
That's fucking
exactly.
retarded.
Okay. This is what I'll
And this
say.
is a
Right.
self-esteem issue with women that they like are even like if you're having these major doubts that someone cares about you enough to do a simple test that you're gonna like test them and do weird shit, like just end it because it's not a relationship. Like
You're
at
looking
that
for an
point, it's
excuse.
over.
This is the
Like
issue. You're looking for an excuse, right? You're manipulating a situation where you want to be able to blame them, when in fact you're the one looking for an excuse for an out. That's why
yeah,
it's
well,
so
maybe,
manipulative.
yeah,
That's why
yeah,
it's so manipulative. Instead of you just being upfront with yourself and just being like, "Look, man, I don't know if
yeah.
this is really working. I don't know if you're that invested in a relationship." Just having a frank discussion, right? Instead, they want to do this little shit test And then if a guy doesn't respond to it well because he might recognize it's a shit test.
True. That's
Now,
probably what's going on, and it's just like, yeah, those little tests, like, because I have dated women in the past, so it's like I get some of this, like, it does almost feel like a form of abuse. These constant little tests to see like if you're gonna pass and like meet the standard, and it's like a real relationship should be about mutual trust, respect, care. Like it shouldn't be about testing each other to see if you really care. Like that's so toxic.
Yeah, you can find this out just naturally anyway, right? So if you have a genuine request from your partner, say for instance, you're working one day but your partner's not working one day. I'm a woman now. I'm identifying as a woman.
You're a woman.
And, and I'm working one day and my boyfriend's not working this day, and I say to my boyfriend, oh, could you do the dishes today? Because I'm working today and I know you're not working. Do you mind just doing the dishes today? And I come back from work and those dishes ain't done. And I'm looking at him like, now maybe one time he could just forget. Okay, I could let it slide one time. But if it's happening 2 times, 3 times, then there's an actual real grievance there that this person might not actually respect me or whatever, right? So that you can find this out without having to actually be a manipulative piece of shit, right? You can actually just find this out from natural, normal interactions. But these women out here think it's okay to just fucking manipulate people into this shit. And I think it's bullshit.
Listen, of all the manipulations and weird shit that women do on the internet, I just don't think this is like the worst. I can see it's a pattern, like shit testing, like it's
not the worst
an abusive pattern, but like part of me is like, was this maybe supposed to be more lighthearted, like, and not like
no, but this is how they get you. This is how they get you. This is how they get you. Right?
Like, I usually can figure out the vibe of a video, being like looking at the comments. I didn't look into it that much, so I don't know what the reaction was.
The reaction was everyone in the comments, all these girls being like, if your boyfriend doesn't do this and he doesn't love you, he's a fucking piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. Like, honestly, it was bizarre. And they're pumping this into young girls, teenagers. This is TikTok, right? They're pumping this into young girls' head. They're warping people's minds of what relationships should be and how you should treat your partner and stuff, right? This has far-reaching effects on like how people are treating each other.
Yeah,
and it seems like a lighthearted thing on the surface. They might even try to present it that way, but that is not actually the effects of it. Ultimately, what it turns into is women using these little instances in relationships to completely just decimate someone psychologically if they want to. And I think that's like very harmful, like to women and men. Like it's very harmful to all of them. It's very harmful to everyone to even think in this kind of way. Like, you know, and then when I got into this argument with some of these women, right, that seemed very level-headed, some of them. Some of them felt very like put together, whatever. But just because I challenged them on this one thing, they went mental, man. Some of them went absolutely mental. There's this one that's well known on Twitter, Lulu. I don't know the full Twitter name, but her name's Lulu on Twitter. She kind of presents herself as like a very put together kind of. I don't know if she's fully a feminist or not, but like she's like kind of a put together woman, intelligent, all this kind of stuff. And she kind of went a bit crazy because I challenged her on this shit test. She was fully pro this shit test kind of stuff. I challenged her on it. She didn't like that. She started making some passive aggressive posts about me.
Oh no.
About it, right? And I was like, okay. And then she came in my DMs, right? She came in my DMs not long after we'd had a couple of these disagreements about it.
Oh my gosh.
She asked me if I was a trans chaser. Right. She asked me if I was a trans chaser.
Why? That's so random.
It was random because I'm not a trans chaser at all.
In fact, I'm quite
I'm quite against a lot of trans ideology. I'm not against trans people in particular. I'm against trans ideology, the broader ideology of trans stuff, rather than trans people themselves.
Yeah.
But I'm not a trans chaser by any means. But she came in my DMs like saying this shit, right? And I was a bit like, That's a pretty big assumption to be making about me when you don't really know me at all. And the
So
only reason
weird.
that you could really be saying this is because I've disagreed with you.
Yeah.
I've disagreed with you, and now you're trying to pin these assumptions on me.
Well, you also have a way of disagreeing where you're like, fuck you, bitch. Like, stupid fucking women. I hate them. I mean, that's probably what it reads like to these women reading it who, like, it took me a while to get to a point where I could, like, not take certain criticisms about women or feminism, like, personally. Like,
Sure.
people get so personally, like, intertwined with their ideology that if you criticize it, it's
Yeah.
just interpreted as an attack. And that's what they're trained to view it as, because they are trained to perceive you as, like, a secret, like, misogynist terrorist, and your mask is slipping. So
Yeah.
if you criticize anything, the mask slipped and now we see your true self and you're
Mm.
actually this really evil bad person and you need to be annihilated from the internet or whatever.
Yeah, it can be like that. I also think that's a little bit what you were talking about earlier with the way women interact socially, in
Mm,
that they any kind of like pushback on something that kind of hurts their ego in a way,
mhm,
they or their perceptions of themselves or their public perception, like if they could be seen to be wrong in some way,
mhm.
or maybe they're not as nice as they like to try and portray themselves or whatever, then they have to like go scorched earth about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Did you get
And
blocked yet?
I did
That's
get
what.
blocked. Yeah, I got
No.
blocked. I've been blocked a few times in the last week or two.
Ugh, I
I've been
love it
blocked by
when
a few
I've
people.
gotten blocked for the most, like, milk toast basic just shit on Twitter, like, and someone will go hard, fight, 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 and then I see they blocked me, and,
Mm,
like, I'll be getting all these notifications from a thread, and I can't see half of it,
yeah.
and it's like, but I also get it because I'm at a point where I'm like, sometimes I want to block people too, but I just mute people. If I'm like
Mm.
need a break from someone and I can't get out of an argument I can just keep getting sucked back into it, I'll just mute them. Block is so like, to me, it's
So
kind of like
beta.
a bitch move. Like, it's
It
like,
is a bitch move. I try not to block anyone. In fact, I don't know if I've ever blocked anyone on Twitter, actually, now that I think about
yeah,
it.
I don't think I have yet, but like, because
Mm.
it feels like a defeat, and that they're
Yeah.
gonna be, like, post a screenshot. Look at, they blocked me. Blah blah
I
blah.
just
And it's
stop
like,
I just stop replying after a while. I'm just like, that's my
that's hard
tactic.
for
Is
me
that
sometimes.
it is hard to do because sometimes you just be like, oh, you're saying some shit that's triggering me right now.
I'll just go, go, go,
Um,
go, 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 go. Like, I'll stay up, like, I can sometimes I literally, and this happens, like, I even have to block my friends sometimes if we're arguing so hard. I have to block them because I'll just keep saying mean shit. They'll keep saying mean shit, and then I'll, like, unblock them the next day,
yeah.
but then it's a fight that we,
See, when
unblock
I when
and,
I find it starts getting into personal stuff, when people are trying to read my mind or try and make assumptions about my life and stuff like that, or who I am as a person,
yeah,
that's
people
when I
go
start.
deep.
That's when I start to not reply anymore. That like I
Yeah.
might reply once or twice, but then I'll go, you're trying to make a lot of assumptions that are not really real. And like at the end of the day, like there's no point in interacting with this. Like this is just bullshit. But I won't block them though because I just think
Mhm.
like I don't like to block. Like I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. I just have it in me. Maybe it's just from my old 4chan days and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
like I
I've
just
the
find it
same
difficult. I
instinct.
find it difficult to block people. I don't
It
know.
feels like a failure, It feels like a
Yeah,
bitch
it just
move.
feels like
It
you're
feels
bitching
like
out. Yeah.
I can't even, like, tolerate your presence. Like, if
Mm.
if you're not following the person, you should be able to just disengage. But I
Yeah.
just
I
the
just
mute
stop.
thing is, like, my
I
nice
just stop.
balance, and then I'll unmute someone, like, or whatever, but
Look, I'm sorry to cut this short, but I really need to go to the toilet for 1 sec.
go
I
for
don't
it.
know if there's
I
any
can do the
chats in
same.
the chat or whatever to talk about, but I'm just gonna run to the toilet real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it. I'll find someone. Alright, let's see what chat is saying. I got called ableist. I got called ableist for calling Nazis mentally ill. That's when I stopped taking people seriously. Oh gosh, I haven't gotten ableist in a while. I used to be like I used to try really hard not to say the R word because I thought it was ableist, and, like, I still think it is in a way, but I just don't think that actually retarded people are offended by it. And I'm not going to say it in the presence of someone who's actually mentally challenged. It's like but the reason I stopped is because I did have a friend who has a sibling who's mentally challenged. And I used to say retard like all the time, and they politely pulled me aside and were like, "Do you mind not saying that? Like my brother's retarded, you know, and all this stuff." So I stopped after that. But then it came back, and it just, you know, it's been slipping into my normal language, and everyone thinks I'm totally off my rocker now. When men feel that way, it's literally scorched earth. Literally. I know that's the thing. I kind of want to like for a question, I want to ask him if he thinks overall men or women are worse. Oh, here you are.
What's this? Sorry.
I was just talking shit about you. All
Oh,
right,
go on.
back, guys. Everyone, act normal.
Oh, come on. Give it to me. Give it to me straight. Give it to me straight.
No, I was actually just talking about how I like this person said they got called a Nazi for, or they got called ableist for calling Nazis mentally ill. And I was talking about how for a long time I stopped saying like retard because I didn't want to be ableist, but like it slipped its way back in my language because I try to just be sensitive and not hurt feelings, but I just don't think that the retarded people care. I don't know, like
I just don't think retard actually refers to mentally handicapped people.
yeah, it is. I mean, like if I saw a mentally handicapped person, I would feel like it is kind of like a slur to be like, look at that retard. Like that would feel mean spirited.
I've never ever been maliciously. I've never been malicious to any handicapped person whatsoever.
Yeah,
But I've definitely called people who are not handicapped retards because they are. So
yeah,
it's one of them.
To it, and like I don't know, but
they've got fanged. You know, you say men feel that way. It's literally Scottish. What are they referring to there? What's the?
I got so lost in the conversation. I'm actually not sure exactly. I don't know when these chats are from. Whenever I'm talking, I have such limited attention span that I can only just like glance at chat and like glance back, or I'll lose everything like that was in my brain.
No, sure. I'm not looking at chat at all, so I have no clue.
I'll get sidetracked. Like
I can't. I'm exactly the same. I can't do it. If there was chat on the side there, I'd be fucked. I'd be totally fucked.
Oh, look, we got a little heart.
Oh, the coop. Oh, I know who that is. Hey up.
Oh, is this a friend?
Yeah. I gave him a link. I was talking to him just before I came on the stream, and I gave him a link to this. So.
Oh, nice.
I didn't know if they were gonna show up or not, but yeah.
Yeah. So tell him, even though he's not reading it, we still love him. Aww.
I'm not what? Sorry.
He said, "Tell him, even though he's not reading the chat, we still love him."
Oh, okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Here's a question.
Go on.
Who's worse, men or women? Go. Who's worse?
I'd say on a lot. I'd say a lot on the metrics. I would say that probably men take the lead, but okay. I would say that women are a very close second.
And, they are a close. Well, I mean, if you just go by like body count, not the sexual kind, but like actual death. But the issue is women haven't just had enough power to kill that many people historically. So it's like, I don't think it's that women are intrinsically better. They just haven't been the ones to like make these decisions on like wars and like, you know, and like war is a very complicated situation. And then with like crime stats, I think a lot of it is, it's just like testosterone causes more aggression.
There's a biological element to violence and how it all comes out. But I also think, I think parenthood and like, so for me, what I go back to is fathers and mothers. Those are some of the biggest things. And I think that there's not enough said about abusive mothers personally. I think a lot of these violent men come from violent mothers. And
yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that it's a bit of a symbiotic relationship.
And a lot of single mothers too. Like
which is, by the way, some of them are single because the men in their lives are abusive, but some of them are single because they are abusive.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got
to just pick terrible people, which I empathize. I've picked terrible people too. Luckily, no.
Yeah, I can't like fully fault people for picking terrible people all the time. There's a certain element to, if you're a woman and you have a pick of certain kinds of guys, there is a certain responsibility there for you. However, you can't always know. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that women can always know.
No, there's a lot of like, I've been bamboozled. Like when I got with my ex a couple years ago, the one who I relapsed with, like he totally bamboozled me into this like situation where he ended up living with me, like, and
Sure.
I was just so lonely that I just like
You
kept
went with
turning a
it, yeah.
blind eye, and I let this
Yeah.
actively using drug addict move in with me, and whoa, that didn't go great. Like,
Of
but
course. And
it started with
when you
lies. He said,
hindsight's
"I'm
2020,
sober," and this, like, or "I'm just using until my methadone goes up," and blah blah blah.
yeah.
It's just,
And
and I just kept
hindsight's
believing it.
2020, right? So when you look back on it, you realize what was happening, but at the time you're
Exactly.
like, oh, it's new, it's exciting, or it's whatever. And I've been guilty of that too with certain women too as well. So like,
Yeah.
it's not that all of us can fall prey to this kind of thing. Obviously, for me, I like to think that the better option is trying to take control of your own life and understand your own responsibility in
Hmm.
things. However, you still have to acknowledge that people can be manipulative. People can, you know, there are things out of your control as well. So we can't like completely always put it at the feet of women or men or whatever all the time. So for me, this is why I see it as a symbiotic thing rather than trying to make it like men are the problem or women are the problem. To
Yeah.
me, it's a symbiotic thing, right? Like we got to acknowledge certain faults at certain places. So in the same way that men can abandon families and fuck up their families and fuck up children that way, in the same way women can fuck up children or the families by being abusive or being too emotionally invested in their own emotions and no one else's and stuff like that. Like, this is one thing I'd like to talk about when it comes to the gender wars, and this is something that isn't actually spoken about a lot, but it's something that I've witnessed and been privy to in my own life many times. Is that okay? So there's this notion about men that they don't open up and
Hmm.
not vulnerable enough and all that stuff, right? Now, on the flip side of that, I think that women can be more overindulgent in their emotions, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
to a point where they suck the room, they suck the emotional space out of the room for anyone
Hmm.
else, and even women do this amongst themselves. So
Yeah.
if you see a group of women, I've been around lots of groups of women. I've grown up with like lots of women around a lot.
Hmm.
So I've seen these groups of women do this kind of stuff where one woman will be in the group of the friends and they will be sucking all the emotional room out of the space, right? So like, and then the other women will get annoyed because they want the emotional room because they feel like their emotions are more important than everyone else's emotions, and
Yeah.
then it becomes this toxic cycle between them all where they all start falling out and then they all start having arguments and stuff like that, right? And they do this in their relationships too with men, where they want their men to be vulnerable, but then as soon as
Hmm.
their men are vulnerable, they're like threatened because they're taking the emotional room away from my emotions now and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it really, this dynamic doesn't really get spoken about a lot. Where um, maybe, so for instance, when it comes to men, maybe men could do with being more vulnerable, but maybe some women could be doing with being a bit more stoic
Yeah.
and
I
being a
agree
bit
with it
more
because, like, this,
emotionally intelligent, maybe. Who
I
knows?
always learned, like, just probably from being a socially anxious person, I probably like overcompensate, but like I learned like if someone says something that like mildly triggers me or whatever, like
Mm,
I tend to just brush it off, and if it like really bothers me down the line, maybe like address it, but like I don't feel the need to change the whole vibe of the room to be like, wait, what did you just like what?
yeah.
Like,
Now my emotions need to be addressed right now because what you just said.
yeah. It's just like I am so, I hate that energy, and I get very overwhelmed, especially when people have tons of expectations and like need me to constantly be navigating their emotional well-being, which is
Mm,
like a minefield. It like it feels very much like a burden on me that I can never meet, and I'm like, it's,
yeah.
this is why I've been single for a long time, you know. Like, I'm
But
just so
honestly,
over
though,
it.
I think that you're like very self-aware about this kind of stuff, and I think
No, I mean, I've been through enough shit in my life that I like am did get like somewhat self-aware over the years. I hope. I mean, who knows? Like,
you don't strike me personally as like a completely overly sensitive person. Like you strike me as someone who is a bit more self-aware of that. I'm not saying you're completely um over like your natural biological instincts.
well, I
I
learned to
think
like restrain
I
it
think
and not trust. every little feeling I have. And that thing, yeah, a lot of women do is like they don't. And I think psychedelics helped me in this, like kind of just breaking my brain so I could like
Sure.
have an outside perspective to realize like my inner emotions and experiences aren't necessarily reflecting what's happening in reality right now. I have all kinds of crazy trauma and shit that like is a me issue that I can deal with on my own. I do not need to involve anyone else in that. As a matter of fact, most of the times when I'm stressed or overwhelmed, I shut down. I don't want anyone near me. Like, you know, if it's like something really terrible, I like call a friend or, you know, do something like that. But for the most part, I tend to want to just process it like on my own, you know,
Sure.
like, but
I
everyone
will
is
say
different.
that's probably a bit unique as a woman, because I don't know if many women do that.
Well, I think I like was isolated a lot in my youth. Like I was like homeschooled and pulled out at like a young age. So I spent years just alone, no friends, nothing. So I learned how to just be very self-sufficient,
You
you
had the
know.
typical male experience.
I know, I know. I know it's like when I did go to school, I was bullied horrifically. Like I, you know, we talked about it before. But yeah, so I think that made me it did force me to be like a little more self-aware
Sure.
and I always regret it when I react emotionally to something. I almost always regret it.
Oh,
Like
me too. 100% me
almost
too. Yeah,
always.
yeah. I've
And
done
like
that.
I get in arguments with my friend because she thinks it's like you should always like if someone makes you feel bad, you should tell them in that moment. And it's like I get that. Like you shouldn't like never say anything, but like there's a scale to it and like you
And
just
should
do
it
not
always
want
be in the moment as well? Like, could you not also
yeah.
wait and collect yourself and then come back and say, like,
That's why, like, when I'm fighting with people, sometimes I block because it's just so heated that I need to completely disengage. And I realize that's pointless. What are we doing? Like, we're just going back and forth, saying things we're gonna regret. Like,
yeah, sure. I like, and I struggle with that too, by the way. And I think that's from being around lots of women as well. Is it like, I think it's brushed off on me to be a little neurotic
mm.
in that way.
Well, there's the same like you know, it's a scale and like
Mm.
of neuroticism between men and women, and some men are like I've noticed like a lot of my male friends like have more like female social tendencies and like ways of
Are they
being. Like,
progressives? Are they?
yeah, exactly. It is like not to be so gender essentialist, but I'm kind of am lately that I'm like really seeing it as like the liberals are mommy and the conservatives are daddy. Like, and it's
It
just
very
two,
is like that, though. It very
it
is
just
like that.
really is like, and it's two modes of being that can symbiotically perhaps work together, but will constantly be in friction. But I think part of that is because like as straight men don't experience men the way that like a straight female does. Like,
Oh, of course not. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, so women are genuinely like traumatized from being treated poorly, from being lied to, like, so we get it. And so that's where a lot of that resentment builds up from these little personal experiences that they then project onto an entire gender and then it
That is
intertwines
mirrored
with
in
the
men too.
ideology.
That is mirrored in men too, in that we get lied to, we get played.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why
Used.
there's like the flip side of like the on the more incel side where they like so fixate on their wound from women that
Mm.
they get sucked into just the opposite side of like a
Yes.
victim
Oh yeah.
mentality that doesn't
Yeah.
serve them at all. And it's really hard to watch these like guys who aren't bad looking, like have literally everything going for them, but like they believe this false narrative that only Chads get things. And it's like, I mean, it's true like on like dating apps, but if you put yourself out there, you know, I mean, some guys that are just doomed to be hopeless forever, honestly, and some
Yeah.
women
And
too.
to be
But
honest, it is an attitude thing. Like, okay, I've got a story about this, right? Because I tried to do a little bit of an experiment on Twitter with some of these incels that I was arguing with, right? Started to change my tune on with the incels, and I was like, hey, if you incels out there, you got a problem with women stuff, you want to try and change things up and change your life, DM me. I'll try and help you. I've been successful with women. I've also been an incel at times as well at
mhm.
certain points in my life, and I've had different experiences with women. I've all this kind of stuff. I can maybe try and help you. I'm not going to try to bullshit you. I'm not going to try and give you
Yeah.
some red pill shit. I'm not going to try and give you some pickup artist shit. I'm going to try and give you some realistic kind of stuff that might actually try
Like,
and help
be
you.
authentic, because that's the whole thing with the
Yeah.
pickup artist thing. When
Well,
you approach a woman inauthentically, women are very, like, perceptive with, like, social things like that.
oh yeah.
So they can pick up
Yeah.
on, like, oh, you're just, like, going through an application in your head, and not even seeing me as a person, and that's a big turnoff for
Yeah. Oh yeah,
women.
totally.
It
Women
just
can pick up on all kinds of stuff. But okay, so I didn't get a lot of success with this, but I got one incel. Okay, I got one incel in my DMs, and started talking about his romantic stuff. Now he was 30 years old. I'm 33 now, so he was about roughly the same age as me, and he was still a virgin at this point. That's what he told me.
oh man, poor
And I
guy.
believe him. I don't know if someone would tell me they're a virgin if they're not a virgin. So
That'd be weird, but you never know.
yeah. I mean, he could have lied, but I don't think he would lied. I think
Yeah.
he was a virgin, right?
No, that's, I mean, that happens. It's especially more than ever. There's way more like male
Now,
virgins on the rise.
he was a good-looking guy. He was a good-looking guy. He looked like a musketeer. He looked like a French musketeer, right? He had like the little turnip mustache. He
Oh,
had like nice hair.
yeah.
Now, his big shortcoming, pun intended, is that he was like 5'5" or some shit, right?
So was my
He's
first
short.
boyfriend. That's the other thing, is like guys get hung up on the height thing, and it's like,
Yeah, okay. Height does not necessarily. It can
it's a
factor in.
huge advantage in dating, but like
Yes,
it's not.
but it's not
There's
the
not
be all
nothing
end all.
towards
It's not
height.
the.
Yeah,
It's not the
it's
be all
not.
end all of
It's
the
like big
situation.
tits. Like they're nice, but like you'll still date a girl who doesn't have huge tits. Like,
Yeah, I mean it's whatever. There's all like women. So some be like, oh, I'm too fat and I won't get dated, but no, you'll be fine. Like so, you might not get all the guys if you're
yeah,
fat,
yeah.
but you might get
You
some
have to
guys.
work harder. You have to work.
Maybe, yeah,
You
but
know, you
yeah,
have to face
exactly. There's
rejection. There's risk, but no risk, no reward. That's how it
we
goes.
call it swings and roundabouts, right? In the UK, there's swings and roundabouts to it, right? There's different, there's give and take to all this stuff, right? But he was a good looking guy, and he did like like LARPing stuff, where you do like fantasy,
Mhm.
dress up as like a fantasy
Yeah,
person, or
yeah.
whatever. And
Like
there's loads of
cosplay.
girls that do all that kind of shit. There's loads of
Yeah.
girls that do all like cosplaying, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, mate, you got to put yourself in situations where there are girls like this around, right? Also, you got to follow up on stuff. I was trying to give him
Mhm.
really good advice. In fact, I think I gave him some pretty damn good advice, but his whole attitude was like fully defeatist. Like it was fully like,
That's so
um,
sad.
he was like fully like, I'm 30 years old now and I've never had any of this and it's never going to happen for me and blah, 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 blah. And he was like so unbelievably like negative about
Yeah.
everything I had to say, everything that went on. He showed me a conversation between him and this girl that he nearly had a date with, but it didn't come through. And the reason it didn't come through was because he didn't message her fast enough. Basically, like he was messaging her, and
Uh-huh.
then he left it for a couple of days, and then messaged her back again. Like after a few days, I was like, mate, she thinks you're not fucking interested. That's why. Like,
You have to
what
find
are you
that
doing?
balance,
Leaving it a
like,
few days. Like, what are you doing? Like,
the thing is I do think there is, like, some wisdom to playing a little hard to get, like, because people always want what
no,
they can't have. No, I
no,
don't think it's, like,
bullshit.
play games, but, like, don't you should always be living your own life, and that should be apparent in how you interact with people, so it's, like, it can be a turnoff for women and for men too, if you always text someone and they always respond right away and are, like, always so available, because it makes you think, like, are you not
Okay,
living your
it's
life?
one
That's a
thing. It's one thing to like not message back
but
someone back like
also
straight
need to
away.
show interest, period, like, yeah.
No, it's one thing to not show. It's one thing to message back every single time, right away, every
Mhm.
single time on the dot, every single time, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes give it a few hours if you're working or if you're doing
Yeah.
something. Yeah, leave it a little bit, like, but that's a few hours.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
leave it a few fucking days when especially when you're first getting to know somebody.
Yeah, I would interpret that as, like, not interested, and I know
Yes,
for me, if I get a whiff of rejection, I will reject you first, always. Like, that's my MO, like, I
that's
just
for
shut
sure a
down. I'm not
schizo,
attracted to
though.
people who are not interested in
That's
me,
for
like,
sure a schizo.
but I noticed since I, like, shut down on people a lot, it makes them want to be with me more, just because 'cause I'm naturally depressed and a drug addict and so distracted,
Hmm.
that it makes them, like, want to be with me more. I noticed this with, like, a couple people, it seems like the more I shoot them down, the more they're drawn to me, and it's just, like,
Sure.
it seems like a total ego game. It has nothing to do with me. I'm like,
Yeah, some
"Dude."
people can definitely be like that, 100%. Yeah. These are
Like my
people that
cousin's
don't
a
have
doctor. I'm
boundaries
like,
for
pick
themselves,
another
though.
girl, dude. Like,
These are people that don't have boundaries for themselves, though, as well. Like, but that's a
yeah,
different, that's a slightly different thing. But like, but it's interesting. Like the what I got out of this incel experiment was that realistically, one of the biggest hurdles for people who are like incels and stuff is just the attitude in general.
mm,
Like you
I
got to
agree. I
expect,
agree.
that not every girl's going to go for you, right? You got to expect that, and it is shit. I will say, it's something that women don't necessarily experience in the same way. Is this
Yeah,
constant feeling of rejection, which is
terrible.
hard psychologically to go through.
I
But
get
women
a
don't.
teaspoon of rejection and I lose my shit. Like just a taste, a whiff of rejection, and I'm like meltdown. Like,
Women's rejection is slightly different in that they might not get a relationship out of something, right?
yeah,
Which is also its own version of it. And I've experienced both. I've experienced rejection just from just trying to come on to somebody. You think you like somebody, you think there's some signals there, but it's not really there, and
hmm,
whatever. But I've also had it where you have sex with somebody, you think there's something going on,
and there's
and
not.
you're dating for a few weeks or whatever, and then all of a sudden they're ghosting you and stuff, right?
Oh, that's
And
terrible.
and like women go through that more than men do necessarily. But I've also experienced both of those things, and both of those things hurt in different ways, right?
Yeah, it's terrible. It's a terrible
Uh,
feeling.
but men are always going through this initial rejection where it's like
Yeah.
I can't even on a surface level be accepted. Like even on a very surface level, I can't even be accepted.
But it's
Which
like
is
they need this attitude shift. I'm trying to do this in myself because I've been having like kind of a bizarre, rough month, lots of rejections. Like I took a class to get this job. I've been working on it for months. I fail the test. They don't hire me. I apply for restaurant after restaurant after restaurant. I do interviews. I do shadows. I'm getting shut down on fucking every angle. But I'm trying to remind myself, like, you know what? Give me more. Okay. It builds character. Like you have to lean into your suffering and just take it for what it is and try to be like, you know what? Cool. Life is about suffering. It's the spice of life. You can't really enjoy the good without the bad. And you just have to learn how to eat shit and say thank you. Like, and just eat
yeah,
more shit, or you're never going to get anywhere in life, you know? So I'm
yeah.
trying to just
So
keep eating shit and,
you've
apply,
got to
apply,
build some
apply. But it's
resilience.
still, it hurts being rejected over and over and over
Yeah.
consecutively. And
Hmm.
that's a newer experience for me because usually I get jobs like I've jobs the restaurants in my city tripping over themselves to hire me, like I have a great resume. I have no idea what the fuck the issue is right now, except that I did find out I've been fucking over these jobs in my city for so long. Like one of them I applied at my friend works at, and the owner of that restaurant had fired me from a different restaurant. So he remembered my name. So it's like
Right.
it's not that big of a city.
Yeah. I think also as well, and I don't normally support lying, okay? I really don't in any other aspect, but in the working world, I totally support lying. Right. So if you're going for a job interview, if you're going on your resume or whatever, don't tell them you've ever been fired. Don't tell them you've ever
Mhm.
done anything wrong in your life ever.
Yeah.
Don't ever give them any
Mhm.
suspicion that you should ever not be hired in any way.
Yeah.
Because they're playing a game, because they're all crooked motherfuckers, a lot of them, right?
I usually
Everyone
ace it though. So that's why I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But I also like during the time period where I was like doing these interviews, I'd stopped smoking weed. So I think I was like maybe too energetic and like too friendly. The eyes are a little too big. Like,
Yeah, that is. Oh, yeah, that is also a thing. Because if you come off too positive, you can seem desperate, and
I know. I think
that can make
maybe
you
this is a
seem
seed of desperation.
disingenuous. That can make you seem disingenuous, like you're not a real person. So, like, you have got to be
Probably.
careful with that. It's a very difficult balance, man. I've been in situations where I'm struggling to look for a job and stuff like that as well, and I've done the same kind of thing where like I'm so desperate for the job that I'm coming in like, hey, yeah, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do coffee and pour coffee for people my whole life. That's
I'm
all I
about to
wanted since
apply
I
at
was a child.
McDonald's, honestly.
You know?
Like I
And
was
you're
working in
saying,
like a fine dining restaurant making like sometimes $800 in a day, spending it all on drugs. But like now I'm like looking at like, all right, I guess I'll apply at McDonald's, like, because I'm not getting anything. And but then the other alternative is just like doing softcore porn again. But like I'm trying to not be about that lifestyle, but like at a certain point, it's like, Jesus Christ, I'm trying to be good. Like,
No, you'll get there. You'll get there. You just need to find that balance of like how you present yourself.
I know.
Like
I'm
it's
just like, I'm so used to like getting what I want with minimal effort that like all these rejections are just hitting me different. I'm like,
yeah,
I've been spoiled in the past by things like coming easier, I guess.
yeah,
So
sure.
now that I'm like experiencing what people normally experience, which is tons of rejection, I'm like, all right, trying to just get on board with it,
Yeah.
like
But don't
whatever.
be afraid to lie a little bit. Don't be afraid to lie a little bit.
I know.
I
Although
think
I'm
that.
not like, I know I'm honest on the internet, but I am a liar in the job market. Okay.
Okay,
Like,
good, good,
I
good,
don't
good.
put like, was porn girl, I just put like the most respectable jobs and, a couple of references that are decent. Cause I did start being a good worker, like, later on in my life. It's just, I have this long history. And then all the other restaurants that I could have gotten hired at when I went psychotic, I was literally going into restaurants, getting kicked out, and I got arrested at one of the restaurants, like, and I applied there after. And I have another
You
friend who works.
applied to the restaurant, you got barred, bro. What are you doing?
Yes, I did.
What are you doing, lad?
Listen,
Oh my
hear me
god.
out, because like on the day that specific day, I had like clown makeup on. Believe it or not, yes. I not like clown makeup, but my makeup was like I looked like the Joker. I looked crazy. I was the Joker that day,
You
basically.
looking crazy? I can't believe it.
But so I'm like, whatever. Like this was like almost 8 months ago. Like maybe they don't remember or they don't recognize me because I also lost some weight. I cleaned up a lot. Like so, I thought I could maybe get away with it. But one of the places, I have another friend who works at one of the bars I applied at, and she was like, yeah, it's never gonna happen. And I was like, okay, I didn't think it was gonna, but I'm applying everywhere, okay? Like,
Sure.
because
No,
you never
you
know.
gotta just
Like,
do it
maybe they
anyway. Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
recognize me. Like, I've worked at jobs where I'd been fired or walked out on them before, like 15 years ago, and then went back in and they didn't remember me. Like,
Yeah, sure.
so I was thinking maybe that could happen again, but nope.
No, just gotta keep trying, man. Fuck it. Like fuck it all. Like I've done all that kind of shit, mate, especially when I was younger. I
Yeah.
don't do that so much anymore, but I remember okay, I'll tell you a funny story, right? When I was I think I was probably like 18 or 19. I was working at this restaurant around the corner from my mum and dad's house when I used to live with them. And I went to a rave the night before. Right? I've been
Oh,
working
God.
for a couple of months. And I went to a rave and I was fucked. I'd done loads of drugs.
Yeah.
I was
That's,
really drunk. I hadn't slept.
I've
And I
done those
went
shifts
in.
so many times.
I went in the morning. I was in on the morning shift, right? So I was meant to be in at like 8 o'clock in the morning or some shit, right? I went in at 8 o'clock in the morning. I got the bus home. Got in at 8 o'clock in the morning. Went straight into the main desk. I went, I can't come in today. I'm really ill. And I had face paint on my face. I was like, my eyes were rolling back. I was like, oh,
Oh no, did they fire you or did you get away with it?
yeah, I got fired. I got fired
God.
straight away. I was like, I can't
Oh,
come in.
honestly,
I'm
that's better
ill
than working
today.
because I used to take like Adderall, Molly, Coke, Xanax, drinking, opiate. Like I would stack so many drugs, like go out of my mind, stay up for days, and then go into work like tweaking, barely able to function. I literally like have like been making bagels on the line and then just like start crying because I'm like so breaking down. Ugh, and I've just had so many humiliating experiences like that. Like,
Yeah,
ugh.
it's one of them where like you live and you learn, but like
Exactly. I try to
as,
just laugh at it now, but it's like, holy shit, there's just so many humiliating experiences, but it keeps you humble. That's
so you
one
tell
benefit.
yourself so you can sleep at night.
Trying to think of any benefit to it, but
But no, I will say though that like honestly, like realistically, just fucking apply to everything, do whatever you can. Like
I know
honestly,
I've only been
if you've got a
hardcore
different
applying for like a
ethic,
month.
if you've got a different ethic now, it will show through. Like but now that I'm working now and stuff like that, like the place I'm working now, it shows through that my work ethic now is totally different to when it was when I
Yeah,
was fucking 19. I'm 33
exactly.
now. I'm 33 now. Like it's night and day from when I used to be younger. I'm not
I
an
know.
addict anymore. I'm not a fucking crazy person. Well, I'm a crazy person, but I'm not fucking.
But it's like
I'm not a
contained. Like
fucking
I used to
addict
be,
anymore and all that stuff. So
I was a
it,
horrible
it
worker. I
changes.
would like call out all the time as a joke. Like I literally took pleasure. I was so resentful, like of like employers and the bosses. Fuck the bosses. Like,
I mean,
they only pay
totally
me
fuck
blah
the
blah blah.
bosses, but
But I
not
was
in
like
that
so in a
way. Not in
mentality
that
that
way,
like
but you know.
I would just I took pleasure in screwing over these jobs. And I took pleasure in the
Yeah,
fact that I could just get another job the next day. But
yeah,
now I'm still living in the same city, not a huge city, and I'm running out of places. Like,
yeah.
and I don't
I
have a
get you.
car, so I'm limited in like the places I can even apply have to be like within 5 miles so I can walk or
Mm.
like bus there. And I have to take my permit test is coming up, but I haven't studied. I don't know how to study. It's too boring. It's boring. I don't like it.
And I think we're kind of coming on to something here in that, in terms of the gender wars, and that you know, being a pretty young girl only lasts for so long. You
I
can't,
know.
you can't,
Exactly.
you
I
can't
I
use
I
that the whole
benefited from just
time. You
like it was
know.
like cute, like being like a fuck up, like but once I got into my late 20s, I realized that and I started like trying to work hard and do good and like I did really well in my last job. I got promoted, I got a raise, it's like taking on a lot of responsibilities, like, and then unfortunately I relapsed and screwed it all up, but
That's the one you want to ham up, though.
that's what
That
I'm saying is
job.
I got spoiled because I literally could just bounce around la di da, like just fuck up left and right, and everything always worked out great for me. So that's why now it's like, the wall's encroaching, like the infertility's encroaching,
The
like
ball
it's
is
all
encroaching.
it's all crashing down on me,
Oh god.
and I'm like, but you know what? I need to eat this shit with a smile because that was my choices. I
Sure,
created
you
this
got to take some
situation.
responsibility for yourself, and I respect that.
I
I respect that a
created
lot.
this situation, and
Mm.
you know what? Not even in a bed. I have an apartment. The heat is on. Like,
Yeah,
it could be.
you're not
I'm
in a
not.
back alley somewhere doing fucking speedballs
Yeah,
or
and
shit,
I'm clean. Like, I got off drugs, so it's not like my life is in shambles. It's just like I expect better. Whenever I'm used to trying so little and getting good results, so now when I'm trying hard and getting no results, I'm like, what the literal fuck?
Welcome to a man's world.
I know it's not. I would never want to be a man, honestly. Like, well, hmm,
It
no, I don't
swings and
think so.
roundabouts. It's give and take, It's give and take.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be like a young, like attractive woman. You get all these like privileges or whatever, and I'm not even that attractive, but I'm attractive enough that like I get privileged in certain situations. Never struggled with dating. Like, I had all these things come very easily to me. But
Sure.
there is like a time limit to that. And I plan on being a cougar and a MILF and all of that. So I can totally get into that. And my
I have
mom is
plans. I have plans
so
to be a cougar. I'm not a cougar right now, but in the future,
I'm like I'm becoming one. I'm
I'm
trying
gonna
to
be
accept it.
preying on young men, and they're gonna be giving me their wealth. It's gonna be
Oh my
okay.
gosh. I mean, I wouldn't mind being like a sugar mama. Like if I like ever,
What sugar have you got to give?
I know. Well, in the past, I was always the sugar mama, the breadwinner, because I was,
Hmm.
doing cam and coming up with all this money. So literally,
Right.
when I was
Okay, I
dating
get
other
you. Right.
addicts,
Right.
I was buying the drugs for both of us. Like, not just mine. Two
Hmm.
addictions were constantly all the bills, everything would always end up falling on me. And I would just go with it because I didn't want to like use alone. It's like
Sure, I know what you mean. You want misery wants company.
exactly. And it's not like I wanted to drag them. We were like dragging each other down, but I just always ended up in that position. Like, and I like taking care of people if I'm able to. Like,
I know what you mean. In a sense, your innate feeling of wanting to take care of people was the driving force of it, but ultimately, it was a situation where you were being kind of selfish in that you wanted to drag people into your own situation.
yeah,
So it was like a combination of the two instincts, if that makes sense.
it is. I
Um,
mean, it's a tough pill to swallow. Like, having lived a life where I've made so many huge mistakes. Like,
yeah.
but I'm very fortunate and like, thank God I live in fucking America where being poor here is like being a queen, in another
In
country.
South Africa, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I have a cell phone, I have a fucking laptop, I have an aquarium, like, I'm fine, you know?
No, you'll be okay. I have great faith in you. I think you'll be
Thank
okay.
you, thank you.
I have
Like,
great
yeah, I'm
faith in you.
not like totally spiraling out of control. I'm just under more stress than I have been in a while.
And
You
also,
know?
when it comes to the job situation, it's a similar thing to the incel situation, and it's an attitude thing. It's an attitude thing too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to
So,
like stay in a positive, productive attitude and not just like I freaked out this morning and instantly my mind always goes straight to substance if I'm like stressed out and I have some vodka in my room. So I literally
sure.
woke up at 8 a.m. and like took a swig of vodka, which I never ever do. And I was like, ew, this is disgusting. I couldn't even really do it. I had like one sip of vodka that did nothing.
That's a
But I
great
wasn't
step,
being
though. That's a
dramatic. I
great
was like
step.
crying and smoking and I took the swig of vodka and then I went to buy cigarettes and like it's so funny. I felt like every drug dealer on my street was like looking at me like they can just smell like when someone's desperate. Like luckily none of them approached me and I wouldn't, buy drugs anyway, but like
Hmm.
I could see their eyes on me and if I wanted to make something happen, I could have because they could just see like, oh, here's some fucked up girl, like she probably needs something. Like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But that's a good step forward, though. At least, like, yeah, you might have your moments where you're weak, but you're also having the wherewithal to be like, I know I'm weak right now, and I'm not necessarily going to completely succumb to this. I might have a little bit of a moment, but it's not
Yeah,
going to be the worst moment that I've ever had. And
exactly.
I think that's like, that's most of like what we can ask for. I've had many moments in my life like that. So, like, where I've succumbed a lot, like to that kind of shit. Something goes to shit in my life, and then I just go
Mhm.
completely off the deep end.
Yeah, you're like, all right, this is
Um,
too hard. Fuck it. Like, I'm just gonna stop trying. Like, and
yeah,
it's very immature. Like, and I'm trying to beat that instinct out of myself. Like, and just be like, because I need, like I had like my dad during my early years, but like I definitely needed more of that like direct kind of like discipline and like
sort your
influence.
shit out.
Yeah, I need someone
Yeah,
because
yeah,
my mom is so pure love and acceptance. I'm so lucky for that, and she's an amazing woman, but like I do need someone to yell at me and just being like, "Hey, stop being a little bitch," like
yeah.
stop.
We all need a bit of that. We all need a bit of that. We all need to kick up the ass sometimes. You know what I mean?
We literally do, and you need like so I'm just trying to kick myself in the ass, and it helps honestly because I'll be wallowing in my misery, and I'm like, get it together, bitch. Like, oh, boo hoo. A job didn't hire you instantly. Like, you just expect everything to be handed on a fucking silver platter. Like,
Mm.
boo fucking who. The consequences of your own actions. Boo hoo. Like,
I think the better way to look at it is I'm still trying. I got rejected from this one, but I'm still trying. I'm gonna keep trying. Like if you
exactly.
know
I'm
you're
a
trying, you know
trooper.
you're doing the right thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you give up, then you're being a fuck up. You know what I mean? You're not a
Exactly.
fuck up because you're getting rejected. You're a fuck up if you stop trying. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to be a
I'm just
trooper,
gonna
man.
run to the toilet real quick, but I'll be back in literally 2 seconds. Sorry, I'm drinking alcohol and I've broken the seal. I'm
Yeah,
sorry to do it.
you're fine.
I wish I didn't do it, but it's a
Well, actually,
Friday night.
I
It's a
might wrap up
Friday
soon.
night,
I'm
and I'm
still a
having a
little.
great time. But
No, I
I'll
actually
just speak to you
might
soon.
I might wrap it up because I actually might
Okay.
go out in the town,
Oh, okay.
so I'm gonna do my hair and try to get some positive attention from the world, man.
Sure. All right. Fair enough.
But but it's always nice to chat, and we should do this again soon. So yeah, thank you for coming on. Base Centrist, everyone, subscribe. All 6 of you better subscribe, and you better be putting out some content. I haven't looked at your channel in a while, but
I probably will do soon. Actually, I was thinking of
really
doing
good. Good
a
for you.
200. I've got 200 subscribers now
Nice.
after 7 or 8 years of
It's really I got like
streaming.
a boost from getting in a fight with a big YouTuber early on. So that boosted me to get like 1,000 subscribers. And once you hit that, people are more inclined to subscribe to
Mm.
you. So the hardest part and the most important part is getting those first couple hundred is like you really got to fight for every first subscriber you get.
Yeah,
I
I
had
mean, to be honest,
30
I probably
subscribers
could have
for
done a lot
years.
better if I'd stuck at it a bit more. But like, I've just been very haphazard with it all. But
Yeah, it's
um,
really I'm unemployed, so that's why I've
yeah,
been so just like, well, doing
just
this,
stream every
and
day.
like
Like, yeah, no, it's
yeah,
definitely a good tactic. Definitely.
yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, maybe we should leave it there then. Maybe we should leave it there.
All right. Well, I'll let
Sorry,
you go to the
I'm doing a
bathroom.
wee dance. I'm doing
I
a
know.
wee
Okay. All right.
dance.
I'm hitting end. Thank you everyone for watching. Subscribe to everyone.